that worked out for you. Good job.
Sure. Thank you. Hey, Brandon here. Welcome back to another episode of the 2023 NFL Draft Rookie Report. Tonight, we are going to take a look at TCU wide receiver Quentin Johnston. All right, we're going to take a look at his 2022 film. We are going to talk about his expected draft capital, and we are going to discuss briefly his future dynasty value. Back, as always, with the show is Jason DiRienzo, recent graduate of the Scouting Academy and co-founder of the Devy Watch. Jason, how many games did you watch of Quentin Johnston getting ready for this program?
Probably about 7, honestly.
Okay. I sent you some.
I wanted to get a good idea of who he was.
Yeah. We've been watching some all 22, which is always good as well. So I sent those over to you as well. But let's go through his career statistics. He's 6'4", 215. Listen, he played the X receiver pretty primarily in all those films that we watched. He had 108 receptions, 2,000 yards, 13 TDs, 18.5 yards per catch. So he is a vertical threat. Some PFF stats here that we're going to take a look at. His snap location. This is really interesting. Again, it kind of shows he's going to be a boundary receiver in the NFL. 90% played outside, like I said, primarily out of the X position, 10% out of the slot. So he's probably one of the only receivers, really true X receivers I can think of that's probably in the top 6, 7, 8 wide receivers in this draft. So I think he's going to be a hot commodity for NFL teams that are in need of a wide receiver one. We're going to talk about his profile here very shortly. His catch percentage, 57.8, which isn't great. I really like to see the more 63 to 65 range, at least as a minimum. His yards per reception was 17.8. That was third. And the two receivers going into the draft that were the only two receivers that had a higher yards per reception than him was Marvin Mims, is a guy that we have to do a rookie report on soon, and Jalen Hyatt, who really tore it up at Tennessee this year. We've already put a rookie report out on him, so make sure you go and check that out. His average depth of target was 15.6, again, showing him as a vertical threat. And his yak per reception was 7.7 for his career, but it was 8.9 for 2022, and that leads all receivers going to the NFL draft, which was a shocker to me.
It was and it wasn't. When I was watching the film, I could see how that's possible. And we'll get into it, but I understand that yak ability from what I saw on film.
Yeah, he has a lot of long runs, but he also had some, so again, it's an average, but hey, excuse me, he broke those tackles. He got the yardage, so you can't take anything away from him. All right, so let's take a look at his scouting report. All right, so again, if you're new to the show, welcome. You know what the drill is for these shows. We're going to go through 5 traits that we're going to discuss each trait and go back and forth and discuss our thoughts. Jason, these are some thoughts that I have on my Devy Dynasty dashboard. And his release and route running is the first trait that we look at. Now, like I said, he played primarily out of the X. I think his release package is good, but I think he needs to be more refined as a route runner for me. I think he wins through his athleticism and his twitchiness, but I think he needs to learn how to set up defenders better. Jason, you and I have been doing this for, almost a year now, and you probably have heard me use the term defensive manipulation on more than one occasion. And for me, for a wide receiver, it's just not running and cutting and trying to run to open space to get open to be available for your quarterback. But I want to see the head bobs, man. I want to see the pivot, and I want to see the control of tempo and the hand usage and really kind of create that defender to get them off platform. And I just think he needs to work on his technique. What did you come away with? Am I off base?
No, you're not off base at all. I completely agree. Now I'll start with the release real quick. I like the release. He's got good acceleration.
Yes.
He's got enough acceleration to really eat into that cushion, get a nice speed release around the defender. I like his use of stemming, but when it comes to manipulation, you're right. I want to see some more body gestures. I want to see head fakes. I want to see a little bit more hip movement and a little bit more within his stemming too. And when it comes to the breaks in his routes, he takes too many steps in order to actually get that momentum to kind of break in. So I think that his he has to downshift, and that's a problem too. Whereas, if he's just going to be in zone coverage and he's going to be finding the soft spots and different things like that, he'll be absolutely fine. But he's going to struggle from what I saw against NFL level competition.
Yeah, I mean, you play the X, you're not getting those free releases. You're getting usually the CB1 on you, and they're usually up on your face. And so
exactly why I think he needs to play more Z, so he can have that space off the line of scrimmage.
I would agree, but really, and this is where the all 22 film is just invaluable because you can't see a lot of this stuff on the regular shows that the regular games that you watch. They pan out and you see
because of where he plays too on the outside. It's very hard to get a good
exactly.
idea.
But I think he's an average route runner, and then I like his size and build, and we're going to talk about his other strengths here. But I think from a route running, I think he depends too much on his athleticism and speed, and he needs some technique. I think it's in there. I mean, hopefully he's going to be a teachable guy, but I think he's got a lot of work to do in his route running. His ball skills and hands, I have in here. He does a nice job, locating tracking deep passes. I mean, he's a legitimate vertical threat. We saw that from the stats that we talked about earlier. He doesn't. The one thing about his ball skills and hands. All right, I thought he did a little bit of body catching. I just feel like there was a lack of physicality of that my ball mentality when it went to go up and get the ball. I thought he short armed a lot. I thought he waited for the ball to come to him a little too much instead of, reaching back and grabbing that ball. Like I have in here on my notes, he needs to use his length more effectively. And I want to see more physicality. And I didn't see a lot of super clean releases. I didn't see any balls, when he had a lot of underthrown balls. So he had to make the body control and the adjustment, he has that down. But then when he actually regains his balance and goes up and gets the ball, I just felt like he just didn't have that, like, this is my ball, I'm going to go up and get it.
Yeah, I saw it more last year than I did this year. Where last year I can't remember what game it was, driving me crazy. I should have taken down those notes and put them up here. But he had a catch in double coverage in the end zone, just kind of contorted, got above everybody, snagged outside of his frame, came down with it. He had a couple catches like that, but he's not consistent. He struggles with drops. He allows defenders to get inside leverage on him when he should be more of a alpha type of guy with, especially use your length to your advantage.
Exactly.
And I didn't really get a chance to see that, and he wasn't consistent with it either. Almost, I don't want to say he took plays off, but he just didn't play at the same level, that same competitive level. And I want to see more of that. So definitely a little concerned, and the drops are a concern, especially when they're in situations where he needed to catch that ball.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw my latest film review that I put. I did an all 22 film room thing where I watched one of his games and I talk about this. So you guys watching the show, at the end of the show, I'm going to plug that so you can go right into that video and take a look, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. And it's real. And we're not sitting here trying to, get on the guy. I mean, we're telling you the way we see it. A lot of people are like, oh, he's a great receiver, but we're digging into these traits for you to really give you something to think about and for you to go look at this player a little bit more depth than maybe you have in the past. So his acceleration and speed, I think he comes off the ball a little high and upright. I don't think he gets to speed top quickly, but man, on that film review that I was just talking about there, he did a double move on the left boundary and smoked the guy. So I think once he's got that runway going, I think once he gets up to that speed, he's not going to be caught. I feel like when he's down the field, but to get to that spot, he's not super, super explosive to get to that second level.
Yeah, it's almost like he's got a gray area because I like the initial acceleration, but then it's like he kind of, I don't know, doesn't have that rhythm or tempo within his speed, and he kind of just loses that momentum. But then he gains it again once he has the ball and he's able to turn up field. So it's very strange, but I agree with you that I just don't think he has the long speed that everybody thinks he does. I think his long strides actually make him look like he's going faster than he is, because I did see him get caught from behind quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that. All right, his yards after catch, improved a lot in 2020. As far as I saw, a guy who was soft, who didn't really like to shake and bake players, who maybe wasn't really physical at the catch point man. But this year in 2022, again, on that film I was talking about that I'm going to plug here at the end of the show, this guy made some guys miss when he got the ball. He loves the spin move. As soon as he catches the ball,
yes, he does.
He loves this spin move, and guys bite on it all the time. And then, I saw then within 10, 15 yards of that, man, he's got the lad. And I think this is what NFL teams are really excited about Quentin Johnston, right? If they can get his route running going, if they can bring this kid in and teach him, because all these kids are not fully where they could potentially be. We have to keep that in mind. Right? He's not a finished product. So there's hope that, he comes with that baseline athleticism that I think teams love. And that yards after the catch, I thought was a big improvement this year. He really put some guys just on their backs and breaking ankles out there.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. That spin move, I think a lot of those yards after the catch, he probably made money off of that spin move on
Yeah, he
those
did.
curls
He
and hitches,
definitely
man.
did.
I mean, he was just, oh my gosh. There was one where the guy was just on the ground just from a little quick jerk that he had, and he was
That's
all the
right.
way, he was all the
Yeah.
way out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, really, really impressive. But again, I mean, you get enough tape on this cage, you're going to know how to stop this stuff pretty
That's right.
quickly. So he needs to get more of an arsenal if he's going to continue that yak ability.
Yeah, I would agree. So the last trait here is physicality and athleticism. Kind of talked about it a little bit. I think he lacks that physicality at the catch point. He's got that tall, thin frame. I'd like to see, at contact him, fight off a little bit. Again, I saw a little better improvement in that in 2022 versus 2022 film. The athleticism, I think, is what shines. I think, he's got that baseline. I think he can run, the vertical. We've seen the body control, the contortion to go up and get the ball. So it sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here,
No,
talking
I know
about,
what you're saying.
body control. He can go up and get it, but then there's that physicality part of shedding the tackle at the same time and going up and getting it.
Yeah, part of me, his frame is very thin. He's very long, which makes me also wonder if that weight is even going to be accurate once we get to the combine.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're right. I want to call it his want motor does not run hot all the time. There's times where he wants it, and there's times you could just tell that he's just going up to get it, but he's allowing, again, defenders to get inside or get above him even, that have no business being there. So that's very frustrating. He's going to definitely have to improve in this area.
All right, let's get to his draft capital and his fantasy profile here and his projection. NFL draft capital, I haven't seen him out of round one. I don't think he's going to. Like I said, he's really the only ex-receiver I think that's worthy of a round one selection. And if a team needs to reboot their wide receiver room, I think he is going to be the guy. I don't think he's getting out of round one. Do you see him getting out of round one in the NFL draft?
No, I don't. He's too much of an intriguing size, athletic, speed, upside type of player that he's a clean palette, man. You can do whatever you want with him if you coach him right. So round one seems about right.
So as a draft selection in your rookie drafts this spring, I think he's round one. We're going to be recording a Devy mock here after this show for the channel. So, keep that in mind, guys. We're going to be having a ton of rookie drafts on this show. He was taken in round one. I don't think, again, unless he bombs at the combine or something, I don't think I can see him, not getting out of round one either.
No, he's a round one guy for sure.
Yeah. So his projected fantasy value, right? Let's talk about his ceiling. Give him 2 or 3 years in the league, get acclimated. I see him as a wide receiver 2 or 3.
Yep, I'm right there with you. 2 is the projected upside, right? If everything goes right with his development, and I think you nail it. I think 3 would just be a solid foundation for who he could be.
Yeah. So my player comp for him, I looked at, again, thinking of the taller receivers in Dynasty right now, I went with T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is a little bit more physical, but I see him being used in that capacity, on the boundary. He's got some ability to work the middle of the field if asked to. So who's your comp?
Yeah, I actually like that one because I struggled with a comp. He's a very unique prospect. I went with Jordy Nelson, just the way that Jordy was actually able to, he had some lateral movement ability. And I do think Quentin Johnston actually has pretty amazing lateral movement for his size and ability. So that kind of what put me in the Jordy Nelson comp area, because if he does develop into a good route runner, I could see what Jordy did with the Packers, having Johnston have that kind of upside.
Oh, he was one of my favorite Dynasty players back in the day, man.
Incredible for the time that he was.
Oh, I know when he got that ACL injury, I was so disappointed that season. I was
even as a Bears fan, I can appreciate Jordy Nelson. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I couldn't say the same thing for the Cowboys. Sorry. So
I understand. I do.
All right, guys. There's the show on Quentin Johnston. Good receiver. He's going to be an early draft guy. If you got him on your Devy rosters, congratulations. So again, I'm going to post his all 22 film breakdown. Right here, right now. So again, thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button, and I really appreciate the time you took to listen to Jason and I. We got a lot more of these shows headed your way. Thank you for watching.